What do you do when you're in a family, and it happens to be me, I'm a Democrat, and my dad's a Republican?
I know the feeling.
So, this was years ago. I was a real little girl at the time, living in Lynn, Massachusetts. Must have been about 10 or 11 years old. And my dad was only home on the weekends because he had shoe factories all over New England, and his largest ones were in Manchester, New Hampshire. So he stayed there during the week and would only come home on weekends. And it was really lonely for me because he was really the only one in the family that I had an amazing connection with. But I used to hear these stories and see in the newspaper how he would speak before thousands of people, or he would just be this amazing storyteller, and everybody would gather around and listen to him. And he really wasn't an exceptional, what I call a good-looking man. He was about 6'4". He had a really big nose. He had ears that stuck out, but he was so fucking charming. He could charm you. No, it was like you were the only person in the room. And I would see pictures of him on stage where he'd be speaking to thousands of people and be totally relaxed. Well, then I heard that he was also the finance chairman for the Republican committee in the state of New Hampshire. I didn't think much of that as a little girl, but I thought, oh, I was so proud, because that was my dad. Look at my dad. And then I would see all sorts of pictures of him in the paper, and I was so proud of him. So we finally moved up to Manchester about 4 years later. And that time, my dad was asked to be the national finance chairman of the National Republican Committee when Ronald Reagan was running for president. That's how long ago it was. So I, as a young girl, I wanted to see my dad in action. So I wanted to help him in the office. I just wanted to see him. So I didn't think, I just knew somewhere in my heart that I was always a Democrat, and there was no way I was going to be a Republican. There was just no way. I knew that as a little girl. It just had never resonated with me. But I watched my dad in the office and on the phone, and he was amazing. He just could turn a no into a yes, and he was always respectful and kind. And I never, ever heard him swear, ever. And that blew my mind. But again, I just looked at these politicians that would come in and out, and it was just BS to me. But I, as a young girl, was so proud of Dad. I didn't care what he did. He was just out there. Flash forward, many years later, after one divorce, I'm with my love, Michael, and we're living in downtown Brooklyn. And Mom and Dad call, let's meet in Atlantic City. Yeah, okay. Michael and I didn't like to gamble, but my folks did, but we figured, away from the kids, just a weekend away. And Atlantic City did not make money on us. We would go to slots, win, and walk away. And we'd go into the spa, we'd walk along the boardwalk, we'd go in the water, loved the taffy, bought all sorts of taffy in Atlantic City. And then one night, my dad wanted to take a walk just with me. And we walked behind the facade of the brilliant hotels at Atlantic City. And it was devastating. It was so poor. I just couldn't believe it. I thought I was in a movie set. And I walked behind, and there was all this poverty. And I said to Dad, these owners, they could care less. They don't care about the poor people. They don't care about the Atlantic City people. They just want to make their money, and that's it. And my dad said to me, I guess this is where I started to be in my own lane and let him be in his own lane. He said to me, Sherry, I don't take any money. I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it for the doors that can open for me. And he said, I hate all the other stuff. And I just didn't say much because I couldn't even do what he was doing for the same reason. And that's kind of where we stopped really talking about politics. It was kind of a silent agreement to agree not to disagree. So the weekend was over, went back, and then a couple of years later, I was involved with this organization called Brooklyn Parents for Peace. And there was this home port in Staten Island where they were trying to put missiles, atomic bomb missiles, on these submarines. And we knew how dangerous it was to do this. So we were constantly picketing and demonstrating until they stopped doing it. And so after that, the head of the Brooklyn Parents for Peace, her name was Charlotte, she said to me, Sherry, she said, Jesse Jackson is running for president, and I want you to run to be a delegate at the convention. What? Wait a minute, Charlotte. You know what I've been through. Panic attacks, agoraphobia, fear of space. I don't know what I can do, and if I win, I don't even know if I can go to the convention, for God's sakes. And I said, whatever I do, if I do it, you're gonna come with me. I ain't doing this alone. So she wanted me to do two things. Turns out to be the scariest things. She wanted me to give a talk to the residents in this housing project in Red Hook. That was number one. And then another time she wanted us to go knocking on the doors of this housing project in Red Hook to get them to vote. So actually the talk went great. I was really surprised. And then we knocked on the doors and Charlotte said, you step aside when you knock on the door. What happened is all of these people are poor, so they rent out their apartments to a drug dealer. And so you didn't know when you knock on the door whether a bullet was gonna come through, so you just stood on the side. It was amazing to me. I had no panic attacks doing this. This was fucking scary. And we did it, and then we all went home, and my love and I went to one of my favorite places in the United States, Big Sur, California. And while we were there, I called my voicemail. You won't believe this. I won. I was in shock. When I got back, Charlotte had a party for all of us. And one of the women who wanted to make a career out of this came over to me and she said, look, you should make a career out of this. You should run for mayor. I said, no way. I was in Borough Hall. I saw how they talk out of both sides of their mouth. They don't want anybody direct and honest like me. I don't know, that may be different now. I'm not sure. But anyway, I said no. So then, I hope, if my memory is correct, this woman that wanted to make a career out of it went in my place, because I couldn't go to the convention. I just couldn't. It was too much. So then, Charlotte, I don't know, she must have thought I was a real winner, even with all of my problems, medical problems, because she said, the assemblywoman position is opening up in our district. I want you to run. Charlotte, no fucking way. I don't want to be in politics, but darling, thank you so much for thinking so highly of me. And I wish you good luck. I hope you find somebody that really wants the deal. Thank you.